Hi, I'm Alicia and welcome to the Mintay Papers YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making some wedding cards. This is a bulk set of 8 cards and it's featuring the new Mintay Papers wedding book. The cards are a clean and simple design with minimum embellishments and carefully placed elements. A lot of white space is used on the card as well, so it has a very classy and elegant feel, perfect for wedding cards. And we're using the new Mintay Papers wedding book. This was released in the latest collection released by Mintay. And if you have a quick flick through the book, you can see that there are lots of wedding pictures in here that are suitable for fussy cutting and applying to your projects. I'm also going to be using the Mintay Papers Basic Book 1, which is all different white pages. So it's just a book of white, and we're going to use that as backgrounds. I've got some pre-cut cards that I'm going to use for the base of my cards. I've also pre-cut some of the images from the wedding book so that I can use them in my card making today. The first step that you're going to need to do is choose 8 pieces of white paper from the Mintay Papers Basic Book White. If you're using a pre-made note card, I need you to trim your card to 4 1/4 inches. That way you can then cut your paper to 4 inches, half for the front and half for the back. So it'll save you using a lot of paper when you're creating the cards. You'll get that nice border around the edge of both the inside and the front of your card. So go through with your little card, your pre-cut cards or your cardstock, and make sure that the front of your card measures in width 4 1/4 inches. Then taking your white paper, you can cut it easily at 4 inches, and that will mean that half will fit on the front cover of your card and the other half will go on the inside of your card. And this will allow you to use 1 sheet of paper per card. This will save you having to use up a lot of your beautiful Mintay paper pads. Once you have cut out 16 pieces from your white paper pad, I'm going to choose to do some machine stitching around the edges of just the paper that will go on the front of the card. These cards are a very classic, clean and simple design, so it is nice to add a little bit of stitching around the outer edge of the front of the card. This is completely optional though, and if you wanted to, instead of doing machine stitching, you could do embroidery stitching, or you could just not do anything at all. You could use a die to create a machine stitched look, or you could use an ink pad to ink the edges. It's just one technique that you can use that creates a little bit of extra dimension on a card. Our next step is we're going to glue the front pages onto the base of our card. So I'm using some liquid glue on the reverse. I'm just going to pop that on, and then I will simply attach that to the front of each of the cards. And you just need to continue doing that until you have covered all of your 8 cards. Once you've covered all of the fronts of the 8 cards, it's then time to cover the inside of the cards. Now, I actually didn't machine stitch the inside papers. Of course you could if you wanted to. So we're just going to be gluing those onto the inside of the card, and this just allows the card to have a nice even balance and a little bit more strength in the back of the card, and it also just finishes the design off nicely. Our next step is to fussy cut some of the designs from this book. So I use this page and this page. So I cut out 2 of each of the wreaths, the floral wreaths. I cut out 2 of the Just Married and 2 of the larger Mr. and Mrs., 2 of the smaller Mr. and Mrs., and then the banner Mr. and Mrs. ones. So that gave me a sentiment. And then from this page I cut out all of the couples, the bride and groom pictures, and that gave me 8 of those. There is so much potential from the wedding book. I've only just scraped the surface on using some of these images to create cards. My next step was to just cut up some recycled cardboard, or you could use double-sided foam tape to elevate the designs a little bit on the card. I set about applying glue to the recycled cardboard, and then I popped that on the back of each of the wreaths. So this meant that my wreaths would stand out a little bit on the card, and because it's such a clean and simple card, it's nice to have a little bit of dimension to the cards. My plan was to put one of the couples in between on top of the wreath and to have a sentiment for each card. I like the way the bride and groom fit nicely in between the wreath, and you still see the foliage on either side. My next step was to apply some recycled cardboard onto the back of the bride and groom pictures. Again, you could use double-sided foam mounting tape. My next step was to glue the wreath into the center of my card and glue the bride and groom on top of the wreath, and then I just glued the sentiment flat onto the base of the card. And this is a very simple way of creating a card. Cards are very elegant. They're a clean and simple design, and they can be made in bulk as well. So if you are making cards for a market or a craft stall, you could easily create quite a few of these cards in a short amount of time. You could also keep them for your stash of wedding cards. So I'm just going through now and gluing all of the card pieces and elements down onto the cards. The bride and groom in the middle of the wreath, the sentiment on the base, and then the wreath in the middle of the card. And each design is slightly different, but they all have a lovely, classy feel, very elegant, white and green, natural colors type of wedding card. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I would encourage you to subscribe to the Mintay YouTube channel, because every Sunday a new video comes out and you don't want to miss the talented creations that the design team have for you. Thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely crafty day.